Okay, hi everyone, welcome to my channel. Today I'll be taking us on Appgate solution, which is an SDP software deployment protocol solution. Why Appgate? What exactly warrants Appgate? So, traditionally, we made use of VPN for connectivity to organization resources if we are not in the organization. But with time, due to various work from home, you understand all organizations are doing hybrid, so which require the need for them to be in different location, and they will want to access uh, the office resources seamlessly. So that is what bring about the Appgate solution. I've been able to install the Appgate on my virtual environment, which I'll be taking you guys through. So I'm trying to log on to my server. Trying to log into my server where the Appgate is seated, so I can just walk you guys through how I arrive at the GUI. So, I'm trying to log into my virtual environment. So okay, so it's just trying to load my server respectively, and this is taking like a little bit of my time. So instead of using the firewall, you understand, firewall also can offer the virtual private network opportunity for users connecting them to internal resources. So this eradicates the need for firewall, and it's easier to configure as well. Okay, so actually the Appgate OVA file is sitting on a hypervisor tool, which is Hyper-V. So as you can see, this is the Appgate. So this is the Appgate. You can see is up and running, and the IP address given to it is 118. So let me try logging in again. Then with the port number and the user interface. So you can see this is what we have. Okay, let me just log out. So yes, this is what you will see the first time you are logging on to Appgate solution. This is the first thing you see. So during my setup, I was able to give it a password. The default username is admin, while I've been able to give it like a password, so which makes me to be able to log in. So first thing to do while after logging on to the Appgate solution is to go to the settings, then the global settings. This is where you have to list out the name, the collective name that you want your Appgate to be to carry, and also various configuration of certificate expiration, entitlement token, claims token, and the likes respectively. So peradventure, the only thing I just changed in this environment is just my DNS, which is the DNS of my lab environment, as you can see. And also make sure that your DNS is reachable internally, because I'm using a local domain, so I can't reach this DNS outside because it's just like a lab environment. So for in as much I'm in the organization, I can reach my DNS respectively, as you can see. So I guess the only thing I just changed is just to indicate my DNS here respectively. then also toggle on this enable backup API so that it will do automatic backup respectively of all API configurations. Then I click on save for this part. So the next configuration that you are to look out for is the licensing. So as you can see, I'm using a trial version, which is a limited version, and it gave me access to 2 sites. That means I can create just only 2 sites. And we are saying the expiration of the license is going to expire in 2099. I'm sure that's a long duration of time. So that is so in a station, if this is a production environment, it's advisable for you to update the license respectively, like putting a license, clicking on this upload license, then you can select wherever the license is and upload respectively. But for this particular lab session, I'm using a trial version. So I guess those are the two things that is what looking out for on the settings aspect. So for this usage aspect, this is like a recording dashboard for you to see. The first one is the active session. So let's say for instance, if a client has been connected, this is where you're going to view the client respectively. Then we have registered device. This is the virtual environment where the OVA file of the Appgate is sitting on respectively. As you can see, this is the IP address that I'm using to connect. This is the IP address I'm using to this is my host. So this is the IP address I'm using to connect to the Appgate respectively. So I'm connecting as a local user. So you can see, let me confirm that IP config. So you can see this is 1.48. That shows that I'm using my endpoint to connect to the Appgate at the moment. So you can be able to check the device that connects to the Appgate respectively. So then we have blacklisted user. Let's say if you have if you want to blacklist a user, you can do that using this. Is it a lab? This is my domain. Is it a local user? Is it a domain user? So you can do that respectively from here. Maybe you are noticing like there is a malicious user that logged in and you check your SIM and you don't want that user to be able to have access to that particular resource. You can block them here respectively. So you can see it's very seamless and easy to configure. Then we have the licensed users. That is those that are licensed. This is a trial version. Then we have these two are provisioned by the Appgate. If you have an OTP service provider, you can synchronize them respectively to the Appgate. But these are the two that are being given by Appgate respectively. So straight to the system configuration pane. So on this level now, clicking on the appliance, this is where I was able to give a role to my Appgate. So the Appgate can exist in two form. You can use it as a controller and also you can use it as a gateway. So for some big for production environments, we are advised to use a separate Appgate for controller and use a separate for gateway for seamless configuration and faster latency. So on this part now, this is where you have to configure the appliance, which is your Appgate. Giving it the name, the settings. This is the IP address of, as you can see, that's the IP address I used to access it to. Then the interface, the incoming interfaces, this is the ETH0. So all this can be confirmed from the CLI patch respectively. Logging on to this place, that you can just do sudo -z then user, then you'll be able to check the interface, the incoming interface, that is ETH0. The route, so this is a default route going to my gateway, that is the gateway of this particular IP address, which is the appliance host. So this is a default route going to my gateway, and this particular IP is sitting on my router interface, internal interface respectively. So we have the DNS server. I'm using my Active Directory because it's a domain controller, and I'm using it as a DNS tool. Then we have the Google DNS. Then we have the NTP server. These are by default. They come with the solution by default. So I advise you just leave it this way. Then toggle on the SSH server, and the port to use is port 22 respectively. Allow sources. It's advisable for you to allow all sources. Don't worry, there are still some places that you can restrict to some certain IP address, but for this it's advisable for you to leave it this way. Allow all sources and NIC is network interface card. So you allow all to as well for both IPv4 and IPv6 respectively. Then after the system settings, you can go to the function settings. So on this place, this is where you can tell the Appgate what you want it to function as. So it's functioning as the controller and also the gateway. So these two are very important because the controller controls the traffic while the gateway permits access to resources. So those two are very important in the configuration of Appgate respectively. So then this is where you can uh, configure the site. Talking to the how if you are using a firewall, if you configure the VPN on a firewall, you'll be conversant with this particular configuration. So this is appliance side. So I will still explain more on where you can configure site, but this site has been configured already. As you can see, we have the default site, so I was able to create this. I'll still take you guys to that place. So creating the site, I add it to this particular profile. I want it to use this particular site. Then the CLS, is 443, allow sources. We have allow source, that is anything coming from anywhere, let it come in. But what do I want them to talk to? This is the gateway. This is my external IP address, for that is the IP address of my ISP. So that will be the gateway. Then the tunnel load balancing is 100. This is by default. It's advisable to leave it then. Then what do I want them to talk to? So anything coming from anywhere, I want them to be able to talk to this particular IP address respectively, and also they can go anywhere. Don't forget, this is a lab environment, but for best practice you can just maintain just only this respectively. Then for the controller, as you can see, the controller IP, this is the controller IP. Don't forget, it's acting as the gateway. The first configuration we saw is the configuration of the gateway that is permitting to resources, while the controller is what it's used to control the traffic respectively. So for the controller, this is the IP address of the controller, the TLS port, and allow source. This is what I want it to allow, allowing everything. Let the controller be able to control all the resources. So then you click on save respectively. um, so let's go to the next one, which is the site. I made mention of this site here. So let's go to where we can configure the site respectively. So go to system, site. So this is by default, you will see this default site by default, but based on preference and best practice, you might not want to go to the default site, though you can't delete the default site, right? But you can just create your own by clicking on this add button. So I've been able to create a site. I name it RDP access to my AD, that's Active Directory. So as you can see, the tunnel traffic, okay, the tunnel protocol for the VPN, it uses 1.2 TLS version 1.2. Then the traffic log NAT IP and NAT port. Then for the client route, I gave it to use entitled based routing. This also, we are going to configure it in this session respectively. So entitled based routing is the type of routing that is, it should be limited to what I want, whatever the users to connect to. Let it be limited to such particular thing alone, not exceeding that. So that's the meaning of this entitled based routing. Then for my DNS, so apparently I was able to show you guys where I put my external IP address, which is for my ISP. So this is like a forwarding configuration, forwarding the external IP address to my internal DNS server. So whenever a user is connecting, In as much if the profile is authenticated, it comes through the external IP address, then forwarding it to the internal. This is my internal DNS server, respectively. Then this is my domain, lab.local, and again, whatever you want to use for this configuration, this setup must be reachable. So to confirm my domain is reachable, let's see. Yeah, as you can see, there's reachability to my domain, so that shows that we are good. Then the resolved IP address, any. So for destination, what do you want it to access? Any for now, because this is a lab environment. But for best practice, it's advisable for you to like restrict them to particular IP address. Let's say 192.168.1.0. That is slash 24. So that's slash 24. Okay. So that's slash 24. Okay. Alright, so as you can see, this is a whole network. So apparently for this is best practice, but this is a lab environment. That is why I put, that is why I use this 00. Okay, so that is the configuration we have for this session respectively. Um, so going to the next session. So to test if your configuration is actually fine, you can do that just to know if you're on the best, if you're on the best practice, and if everything is fine, if you're on the site level. So you can just test name resolve. This is the name of my Active Directory. Let me see if I can get you to my Active Directory from here. If there's no reachability, then the Active Directory will not be synchronized. So as you can see, test is succeeded. That shows that my Active Directory is up and reachable to my Appgate solution respectively. Okay. So for tag, let's say in a station whereby you want to add some tags, you can create that here to respectively, but that is not mandatory, it's optional. Appliance customization as well is optional. You can do that from this place. Let's say if you have like a script you want to customize on the appliance, but that is optional. So for the secret, so this particular aspect is a place whereby you can keep your password. Let's say for instance you create a user, like a local user, and you are trying to like put a very hard password, so you can save the password there for reference purpose. That is what this particular page is used for respectively. For just a certificate, if you have a certificate that you want to import on the Appgate, you can do that here respectively. Then for client auto update, I've been able to just toggle on this button and click on everyone. So automatically all client that is connected using the Appgate agent will be automatically updated to the latest version of the client that is on it. Okay, so let's go to the identity. Yes, this space is very important. This is where you're going to configure the profile. This is where you're going to go. It's just like a virtual private network. Don't forget, why configuring a virtual private network, you need an agent installed on the endpoint, and also you need a profile that will be imported to connect to that particular VPN solution. So that is the same case with these two as well. So this is where you have to configure the client profile, that is the profile that you will install on the agent on each endpoint respectively. So I've been able to configure this here. So this is, I give it a name, then let it use the identity provider of my domain. I'll still explain this when we get to identity provider. So this is where I configure. You can see the configuration of this client profile is very easy. So this is where I configure the client profile respectively. Okay, yeah. For the identity provider now, by default, you have to see when you log in, you have to say the connector, local, and service. But I was able to synchronize my Active Directory because don't forget you have to integrate your Active Directory to the Appgate SDP in order to authenticate users that are on your domain. So I was able to do that using using my settings, as you can see. So this is my DNS server, this is my external gateway, this is Google, this is my domain. So this is my domain. Then the IPv4, I've been able to put my IPv4. I'll tell you guys the IPv4. Then this part is very important. The user, the synchronization user account, this is it. So let me take you guys to where I have it. So this is my Active Directory, as you can see. So I just want to navigate to how I get to this page. Then go to Tools, Active Directory Users and Computers. Then go to User. Okay. Then this is the user I want to use to synchronize their properties. You see attribute editor. Attribute editor. So once I click on the attribute editor, I'll be able to see my DN connectivity distribution name. So I click on it, then copy, and I can put that here respectively. That is what I put here respectively. Then I put the password. Then my base DN is the same as DC equals lab, DC equals local. And I guess these are the three things that are important for you to synchronize your Active Directory respectively. So after you have done that, you can just test connection. As you can see, the connection is successful. So that means that my Active Directory is right now on the Appgate, is synchronized respectively on the Appgate. So to confirm that too as well, we can test a user. I have a user which is the get bash. Let me run a test if I can see that user. As you can see, the identification test is successful. You can see the group is under administrator group. You can see the username and other parameters that are related to that administrator, to that account. So that shows that my users can be seen, and the Appgate is synchronized respectively. So after the so this IP pools, this is where you can give the list of IPs that you want to have on the Appgate. So we have the IPv4. As you can see, this is the range of my IP address respectively. So I can add other 168.1.1, then 255. So these are the ranges of IPv4 that is declared on the Appgate. So wherever you see the IPv4, that shows that all these IPv4 we've implemented respectively. So the default pool, click on save. Okay, then for my VPN, this is the IP address that I want my VPN users to connect whenever they are connecting. So this is the IP address I want them to have. So you can do that too respectively using the IP pool, and also if you have an IPv6, you can as well do that respectively. So MFA providers, if you want multi-factor authentication, it can be toggled on. We have two providers as described by Appgate, as you can see with this. So what you just need to do is just get a certificate for that. These are built-in providers really. So with this we are able to set up the MFA for our users. So if it's a local user, we can set up an MFA for it, but don't forget the Active Directory is the one handling the authentication. So I guess this is not really relevant for that. So the another important one is the local user. Let's say for instance you did not synchronize your LDAP Active Directory, you can still connect to the organization resources using a local user account which is created on the Appgate. So all you just do is click on add new, then specify the details right here, and with that you'll be able to use that to connect to the resources respectively. So I guess that is that for the pin. Then for this service user, this part records users that are connected. Let's say for instance there's an authentication. This is where you can see users, the name and details of users that are connected and the time that they connect respectively. So that is all we have for the identity configuration aspect. Then for the access, so this pane is where you can give policies, give rights, give conditions, ring references and the likes. So the first part we have to look at is the policy. So I've been able to I made the by default you will see the built administrator policy. So this is for local, as you can see, administrator. So this is for local user. So I was able to add another policy for the access. This is an access policy. To do this you just click on it, then access policy. If it's an administrator, if a local user, you use this. If it's a device policy, you use this. If it's DNS policy, you use it. If you want to stop a particular policy, you use this. So this is the one I use for the policy. Create the policy, give it a name, enable, then the criteria, and the criteria. So the criteria combining mode. All criteria below must be met. So under this we have three options that you can choose. At least one of the criteria. So using this criteria, these two criteria can make it okay if the rule comply with one of these two, then it should permit the traffic. Or if you want all criteria to be met before the traffic can be allowed, you can set that also. So what are the criteria in place? The first criteria is the device OS type should not be mobile. Don't forget the user is trying to connect to my Active Directory, right? So that is the resource I wanted to connect to. So you know you can't use a mobile device to connect to an Active Directory, right? So the first criteria is don't let the operating system type be mobile. And the second one is if the identity provider is laptop, that is the username that is coming from anywhere, if it's match what I have on my database on my Active Directory, then the traffic can pass through. I've been able to create some entitlement too as well for Windows Server perspective, just only Windows Server. The user can access just only Windows Server. Then doing this, you can click on save. That is how you can give access policy to a user, just restricting to a particular um, uh, device or a particular internal resources respectively. Then next one is entitlement. So with entitlements, you can create the IP address and the port. Don't forget the access is where you the policy rather is where you specify the criteria that will be met, just like if this particular traffic is coming from the Active Directory, or if it's not a mobile device, then let it use this particular entitlement. So you have to create the entitlement too as well. So the entitlement is where you can specify the IP address and the port. So if so IP address is coming from so place with this port number, so that is what that entitlement is all about. So as you can see, I've been able to create an entitlement for my Windows server, the site which is LDP to which I showed earlier. The action I gave it to allow TCP connection using port 80, 443, 389 and 3389. This is RDP, this is LDAP, this is HTTPS, and this is HTTP. I guess these are the four crucial ports for Active Directory, and the action is allowed. So you can see I've been able to narrow it down to just only one IP address. That's how That is how interesting Appgate is. You can be able to narrow it down to an advert, and also you can add multiple IP addresses. Let's say if I want to add another server or another endpoint, I connect to 168.1.1.8. Let's say 40. Okay. Okay. Allow the traffic through the gateway. Don't forget the gateway is the egress facing the external part. So the TCP, what exactly is the protocol? Is it TCP? Is it ICMP, HTTP, and the rest? So yeah, I can do that here too as well using, let's say for instance, I just want only port 443 to be allowed for external users, or 443 to be allowed for external users. So you can specify that there respectively. Then click on that. So you see we have two now. What exactly is the access control? Allow action. Then click on save. So that is the entitlement. Then as well you can check for the policy that the entitlement is listed. Don't forget every entitlement must be linked to a policy. And aside that we have the conditions. So this is created by default. So that shows that always, that is, the rules should be working always and functional. So if you want the particular rule or particular policy to work from so time to so time, that can be done from this part to respectively. Okay. All right. So I guess those are the three things. Those are the three things that are important and very urgent to be done on the Appgate to allow users to connect respectively to internal resources, even if we are not in the organization. It helps you to connect to the internal resources. This is my client. I've been able to download my client respectively, and this is my profile. So this is my profile. Then what you just need to do, so yeah, this is the client profile. So what I just did was to just download the profile, just copy, then launch my installer, then associate the profile, then I can log in with my jetpash, which is one of the active directory user, and also the password. Then I click on connect respectively, and I'll be connected respectively, as you can see. So I guess that is what we need for this section. I know this is a long section, but I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much.